So my grandfather set the record in 1969. He was driving a 1968 Ford Bronco. He won the Baja 1000 overall. And that is a record that still stands today.
Wow.
Which is wild. So I get a phone call from Ford, and they invited me to go to Detroit and take a tour of the archives. And the basement was where they were creating Bronco R, which was the prototype race truck that they were intending to race later that year at the Baja 1000. So they just said, here it is. Shelby, we'd love to ask you if you're interested in racing the Baja 1000 with us. Just like that.
Hey guys, welcome to High Octane Hustle. I'm Fastlane Jane.
And I'm Design Muse. And this is...
I am Shelby Hall.
Yay! So excited you're here. Thanks so much for joining us today.
We are very excited to have you on. I know we've been trying to do this for a while now, and just, you're busy. You're traveling, you're racing.
It hasn't been a year.
Yeah.
I was counting because
Okay.
every day counts.
Every day does count. That's good. We got it in under a year.
But it has
Sweet.
been a wild year. I actually can't believe that it was last King of the Hammers when we met.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, where do you want to start?
Well, do we start at the beginning? Do we start at what your past year? You just said it's been a wild year.
It's been a
maybe
wild
we
year.
start there and just kind of go backwards, because I really do feel like, you've got that momentum going. So tell us about your wild year.
Yeah.
Let's just start there.
This year's been crazy. It's been a lot of dreams coming true for me, actually, which is, it's cool to look back at the last year and think, okay, we've accomplished a few things. So, a year ago we met at King of the Hammers. I got to see your awesome property. And, I've been working with Ford for the last 4 years. And each year that I've been working with them, it's like new goals have been set and we've been surpassing them. And it's been this snowball, I feel like, for me. And this last year, I started my own business, Shelby Hall Offroad. I built a race car. I competed in the Rebelle Rally. I joined the BFG performance team and became the first woman to drive on the performance team at the Baja 1000.
Yep, that's pretty
so
rad.
So we're setting records, we're winning races, we're, figuring life out, but it's been an awesome year.
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
Right? Oh, yeah. We got to stay with the high fives.
Yeah, that's a way to make dreams happen. And, and that's the thing is, I think, sometimes it feels like we're putting that work in and you don't quite see things happening.
A lot of the time.
Yes. Yes. But it's true, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden people are like talking to you and you're like, oh, they were noticing?
Yeah, you saw that I did that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean everything I did actually worked?
Yes.
And it's not overnight.
No.
It takes time.
It
and you
takes
have to, it's
so much
consistent.
time.
Yeah. Consistency. I can say it.
And
I swear.
believing in what you want to do. That's the thing for me is a lot of times, I'm the idea person. I'm always coming up with new ideas and how to grow the business and how to grow the brand. And there's a lot of no's before you get a yes.
Agreed.
But you just can't let that no bring you down. That's what I have found. Of course, every time you get a no, it's a little disheartening.
Sure,
but
sure.
There's still room to grow.
Yeah, definitely. And where did you learn that? Was there something along the way? No, because it's true. A lot of people, they think like, I have people reach out to me all the time like, oh, well, how do you do it? And it's like, well, it takes all this consistent work, and consistency doesn't mean that you're going to get yeses each time. Yes.
A lot more no's than yeses.
Yeah.
I really learned so much of what I know and how I behave today from my family. Yeah. I come from a large family of entrepreneurs, both on my dad's side and on my mom's side. My grandparents were entrepreneurs, my dad, my mom, my uncle. And so I just always grew up seeing people live the lives that they wanted to live.
Yeah.
There was no 9-to-5 jobs or 8-to-5 jobs.
Right.
They were hustling all day, every day. It's like we try not to work a 40-hour week to work, like a 100-hour week or something like that.
Yeah. That really sums up the whole high octane hustle.
100%. I was like right there. And that's it. Part of it is the hustle is real if you want to do something that you're excited about doing, and it doesn't feel like work. You know, you said you were listening to one of the Tanner Faust episodes.
So
and
good.
It's true, because like he said the whole time, he's like, none of this feels like a job to me. And what we do, it's the same thing. It's like, we're doing what we love. Like, this is part of our family, like the industry. It feels like that, right? Yeah. You and Rory coming to the place yesterday, I'm just like, okay, it's like we've been best friends forever. And just, hey, like it's, you get the people that you hang around like that also feel that same passion.
It's too short. I mean, life is too short to be doing things that we don't want to be doing. We get one shot at this thing.
Absolutely.
And of course, throughout life, we have to do things that we don't fully enjoy. But working is one thing we have to do. We have to have some source of income. Yeah. And it's the thing we spend the most time doing. So before I was in the role that I'm in now, I worked a couple regular jobs. Yeah. And I felt like a bird in a cage. I felt like I was watching the world happen through the window. And I hated that. I hated that I couldn't go to races. I couldn't go support the people that I wanted to support. I had to ask for days off. I mean, I'm not really good at authority anyways. So when I was like, I have to ask for a day off, this is crazy. Right. And that was really what inspired me to start really putting in the work with my family's business, and learning the ins and outs of motorsports, and now, being an older person, able to put all those lessons into my own business and make it what makes me happy.
I love it. Yeah. Even in the last year, I've really, for myself, my motto this year is, stay true to you, because it's exactly what you're saying. And It's like, as you grow older, it's not a bad thing, people. It's actually
it's not. It's been the best thing in the world.
You come into yourself. You're just kind of
liberating, right?
Everyone else. I need to do what I love to do. Yeah. You notice that your heart's fuller and you can be a better person, you know? Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I echo that sentiment.
You said this yesterday, actually, when I was at your house, and you said that you are making a really valiant effort to only put energy into projects that are in alignment with your goals. Yes. And that's what I've come to terms with also. Yeah. So for about a year and a half, I was on the Bronco ambassador team. So I got a Bronco, and it was my job to go take that thing anywhere and everywhere. And I thought that what I needed to do was take it rock crawling. I was like, you know what? I already know desert stuff. I know that a lot of people in the KOH community are looking at Broncos, so that's what I need to do. I don't love rock crawling. That is not what I love to do. And I really figured that out. Spending a year going, through, I love Rubicon. Rubicon's very near and dear to my heart, but, going to Moab, going to all these huge rock crawling complexes. Yeah. And being so I bomb in the desert. I desert race. I will get in any vehicle and go race that thing. And I'm in my zone. I get in the rocks and I'm clenching the steering wheel. I'm sweating, and we're going 1 mile an hour, and I'm going the whole time. I'm scraping. Bleep, bleep, bleep. I'm why am I doing this? My Bronco. I'm leaving parts of my metal of my Bronco here. And anyways. And so after I, got my fill of realizing rock crawling wasn't necessarily my passion, I made it my goal for this last year to take my Bronco places that I want to go. Good. Not necessarily where I thought people wanted to see my Bronco. I love that. And man, the last year has been so much fun. I've been to Baja. I love Baja. Yeah. Baja has, every time I go to Baja, a piece of my heart stays there. And that's where my heart shines. That is where I just permagrin.
Right.
But I think that you bring up something that's so important, because whether you're a female in this space, a female in any space, somehow we get in our mind what somebody else wants to see us do.
Sure.
And to be able to come out and openly admit, hey, that didn't freaking work for me.
Well, this might be the first time I've
that.
admitted that.
But see, and hey, you guys, this is unlimited access and an exclusive drop right here by Shelby Hall.
It is.
Yeah, you heard it here. But I think that in and of itself is empowering, and it's leading for other women that may be in the same situation you found yourself in. And they're like, oh, okay, I can change my mind on this.
100%.
And that's exactly what it is that you can follow something and be like, okay, it doesn't feel right anymore. You know, you thought it did in the beginning.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I don't regret. I mean, it was a blast. And
Correct.
I learned a lot. And any seat time is seat time. Like, you're
Totally.
learning to rate, you're figuring.
Yes.
And I met so many awesome people and
Yeah.
have so many memories now. But, you know, a year of that was enough.
Yeah, you had
You should see the underside of my Bronco. Anytime anyone looks at it, they're like, holy shit, where have you taken that thing? I'm like, well, where haven't I? Is
the better
question.
I like
I'm
that.
a go fast girl. I totally get
get
it.
me.
I totally get it.
I get it too.
I know, exactly. Well, and it's funny because a lot of people, when they hear off-road racing, they just think it's hard because they don't know. Like, desert racing is go fast racing.
Yeah.
You know, rock crawling is exactly what it sounds like. Crawling.
Yep.
You know, like one of the first times I was like on a trail run with my sister with a Jeep club, and I was like, oh, she was like, oh, I need you to lead because I got to be tail gunner and all these things. I was like, okay, cool. Like, you know, how fast do you want me to go? She's like, 15 to 25 miles an hour. And I was like, why?
You're like, but we're not going to make it anywhere.
And she was like, because it's a Jeep club. Like, we're rock crawling. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like,
can I
this is
change my
different
mind?
for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So I'd like go too fast. Okay, I got to slow down. I go too, you know, so it's just different. You know, me, I'm used to like going with, XO, you know, Expedition X off-road, and we're doing 80 to 90 down roads. You know, that's what I'm used to.
So that was my first trip. When I made the decision, I was not spending so much energy rock crawling. The first thing I did was booked a trip with EXO.
Awesome.
And did a 6-day Baja run with them.
Love it.
And I have never had so much fun in
Good.
my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And that
They're
is
like-
not
they're like a
exaggeration.
family. They're awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it
they're
was
great
so
people.
rad. And my Bronco kicks ass down there. Like, that is what it's built for. You know,
Totally.
it's- Yeah.
Totally. Oh no, they're fantastic. And they really did such a good job at knowing how they needed to make that vehicle function.
Yes.
You keep saying you learn things about me, but I got to be on the expert panel for the
Yes.
Bronco design team. So yeah.
That one I did know.
Okay. So being part of that though, it was like they really wanted to understand the vehicle, and even making it all independent suspension and stuff, like that was an important part of, like, they still wanted it to be a comfortable ride. They didn't want it to be a Jeep, you know, like, although the Jeep crawls better, probably, you know, that's what it does. That's what it's made for.
They're two different beasts.
100%. So
you need to buy one of each. Is basically what you ladies are saying.
Just depends
right?
on what you want to do.
Correct.
I don't
It
need
really
a Jeep.
is. Yeah, yeah. And okay, so I think that brings us, let's go back then now, I think at that point, and like, you know, you can share a little bit about like the legacy, because you know, we've interviewed legacy babies, you know, and so that would be you too, you know, and kind of like, you know, and that's someone, you know, your grandfather is someone that I've followed too and stuff, you know. So, I mean, kind of share that journey, because obviously it is in your blood.
It is. It definitely is. I tried to fight it for a while, but, you know, it wasn't. It was those teenage years.
Yes.
Yeah, when I was like, oh, I need to do my own thing. So my grandfather was Rod Hall, and you know, he was a huge pioneer in off-road motorsports, not just racing. However, he was an extremely amazing racer and set a lot of records. But he really pioneered the sport to become what it is today.
Yeah.
I remember when I really first started working alongside him, he was re-energizing the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame. And what he had said was, any other legitimate sport has a Hall of Fame. And what we do is a legitimate sport.
Awesome.
So it needs a Hall of Fame. And I mean, that was where I got to learn so much history about off-road motorsports, was through the Hall of Fame. And that's actually where I learned so much about my grandfather.
Yeah.
He was
Wow.
so incredibly humble. You know, I knew that he was like a big deal and people knew who he was and whatever.
But he's your grandfather.
But I didn't know the
You have a
details.
different, totally different relationship, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, he was a really incredible person. And I was very lucky to be able to grow up with him. Like I said, I was a little bit of when I was little, like less than school age, always in the dirt. Some of my earliest memory, my mom and my dad had an off-road racing school. So they taught people how to drive off-road. And at the end of each day, so my mom would lug my sister and I out there because we weren't in school
Cute.
yet.
Yeah.
And so we'd like play and eat rocks and who knows what we did all day. And at the end of the school day, I would beg my dad to give me a ride in the race truck. So I'm tiny. I'm like, 4 or something. So he straps me in. And of course, I can't see over the dash. I'm sure I don't even fit in the seat. But he straps me in and he starts to take off. And I would beg him to go faster and faster and faster. It was never fast enough. And, so I spent many years doing that. I was just alongside what my family was doing. My dad and my uncle followed suit with my grandfather, and so they were professional racers, and of course they expanded beyond just racing and ended up developing parts, and my uncle now has a program with Chevy. And I'm a Ford girl. I race for Ford, so we do have a little bit of family.
I might like your uncle.
Thanksgiving gets a little weird,
You know what? It's
Gotta
all
love those car families.
It's all in how you look at it. Because think about this: you can have one car, or you can own 2 car markets. So that's a family of entrepreneurs, like you said. So very
yes.
good.
Yeah.
And so in my teen years, I definitely took a hiatus, and I mean, who knows what I thought I wanted to do, but I always came back to off-roading, and I always came back to my grandpa. I felt like my grandpa understood me more than anybody.
Yeah.
And so he took me under his wing, and he, at the time, he taught off-road driving seminars for BFG and Michelin.
Right
And
on,
so,
right?
I started at the bottom. I started washing cars.
Yeah.
That was how he let me come into the business.
Awesome.
And once I proved that I could show up and do a crappy,
Yeah.
a job that nobody wants to do,
Right.
Of course.
and show up and do it, then I got to do the next thing, and it was like paperwork or something,
Yeah.
when all I wanted was to be out in the dirt with everybody else.
But you got to do
But I
all the
had to
other
earn
things.
it.
You want to be
Yeah.
the entrepreneur. He knew.
Yeah. And so, and I didn't know it at the time, but he was teaching me so much that anytime we were out wheeling together, he would be talking through why he was choosing to make the maneuver that he was doing, whatever
Yep.
it was. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was him coaching me.
Baja Forged, signature vehicle builds and off-road products built to forge your own path. Baja Forged was basically made because we loved off-roading. We loved the open roads. If you're looking for off-road products to help you get out on the terrain, visit bajaforged.com. Follow us on Instagram at Baja Forged for our latest builds.
Since 1987, GTS Customs has specialized in resto mod Corvettes. From widened bodies to pro touring vehicles with all today's modern technology. If you've got a Corvette, an old Corvette, and you want to make it drive like something new, contact gtscustoms.com.
Yeah.
And which is really cool because now when I'm out on the course or even just wheeling, I have his little voice, telling me why I should be doing the things that I'm doing.
Cool.
And then in 2019 is when Ford actually decided to launch the new Bronco. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it took a long time for that thing to
Yes.
come out. They called my grandfather and said, Rod, you have been an amazing spokesperson for us. So my grandfather set the record in 1969. He was driving a 1968 Ford Bronco. He won the Baja 1000 overall.
Wow.
And that is a record that still stands today.
Wow.
Which is wild. I mean,
Oh my
technology
gosh,
has
I didn't
come
even
so
realize
far.
that is
That's amazing.
awesome.
And I still have that Bronco.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. We've restored them. I mean, that's a whole nother story. But and because of that, Ford wanted to, with the Bronco, as we all know now, you know, they've really stepped back into the desert racing scene. And so they wanted to tell that story. They wanted to relive that record-setting story. And so they came to our hometown. They came to Reno. They brought a virtual reality setup, which was great because my grandpa was in a wheelchair at that point. And we got to see what the new Bronco looked like. And they put the livery of our 68 on it. And, you know, it brought tears to my grandpa's
Sure.
eyes. And he said,
Man.
man, if I could drive, I would definitely have
That's
one of
rad.
these. And that was how I met Ford. They had no idea I existed. You know, they
Yeah.
just wanted to come and thank my
Yeah.
grandpa. And I emailed one of them afterwards and I wanted them to know, you know, I knew it was for them. You know, I knew that
Yeah,
what
yeah,
they
yeah.
were doing was still a wonderful
Sure, of
thing.
course.
But
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted them to know that actually that decision for them to come and do that probably helped my grandfather live a little longer. You know, he ended up
wow.
having a disease called progressive supranuclear palsy,
Wow.
which is a Parkinsonian like disease.
Yeah.
So he went from like still working to 4 years later in a wheelchair, totally immobile.
Yeah.
And for them to come and really honor him was amazing. So anyhow, so I emailed them and I just wanted them to know how special that was for us. And the response was, I don't know how and I don't know what, but we want you to be involved in this Bronco.
Rad.
And then it's all downhill from there, man.
That's
It's been
rad.
a whirlwhand since then.
That's amazing.
awesome.
That makes me a little weepy. I've never heard a Chevy story like that. I'm just saying.
That was good.
Oops. You might have to edit that out, Jason. I don't know. I don't have any Chevy sponsorships.
I know, right?
No.
Well, you're right. So at the 2019 SEMA show is when, because I went down where they like debuted some different, they had some photos. They had the T-shirt with Rod Hall on it,
Yeah,
with him on
yeah.
it and stuff too. It was really cool.
Yeah.
They did a great little like tribute and stuff like that for
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. So I mean, the part that, and I don't want to cry either, but my grandpa passed away in 2019 in June, and it was probably 6 weeks later when Ford called and invited me to race with them. And one of the last things that my grandpa said to me was, "We have got to get you your own race car."
Yes, I love it.
Oh my
So,
god.
you know,
He
it was
knew
a little
too.
heartbreaking that he didn't get to like experience that, but here we are 5 years
Yeah.
later and I finally have my own race car. So
Awesome.
I made
Yeah.
it, you know, I
Yeah.
would love for him to know that.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
Sure he does, but
Yeah.
yes, I mean,
Yeah.
just the opportunity that you had with Ford like that and being there
Yeah.
with him, like to see all of that happen. I mean, I'm sure obviously, like you said, it helped him live a little bit longer,
Yeah.
you know, and he knows like, yes, you're right. He probably wanted to see that, I'm sure, but I feel like, yes, he knew.
Yeah,
He knew.
yeah.
He knew the seat he was planning to.
Yeah, that's
He probably did. I mean, I swear he knew like everything.
Holy cow. So then now you're racing with Ford in 2019. Take us through that. What happened next? I'm on the edge of my seat.
So I get a phone call from Ford and they invited me, and this was still 2019, and they invited me to go to Detroit and take a tour of the archives. And I was like, yeah, this sounds cool. Like,
Right?
I
Yeah.
don't know what this means. And I mean, any phone call from a manufacturer, like in the racing world.
I know when I got the phone call.
You're
it was
like,
pretty
holy
epic.
shit.
Yeah, totally.
I'm still waiting
Am
for
I
my
sleeping?
phone call.
Yes. So of course, I'm like,
Sorry.
can I bring my dad? You know, I really wanted to. I felt like, more people deserved the opportunity than I did. So my dad.
Don't we always all feel like that? No, I'm serious.
Well, yeah, I was like,
though.
they're just, why are they asking me?
Right?
They didn't even know I existed. And
Yeah.
but it was cool. They were very welcoming for me to bring those that I felt deserved to be there also.
Awesome.
And we got this phenomenal tour of the archives,
That's rad.
which, of course, it was all about Bronco and how Bronco had grown from the 60s and really amazing pieces of history. Amazing. And then we got to walk across the street and actually see the whole process of the Bronco coming to life from idea to conception, and it was insane. It was so cool to sit in, I make a dream board.
Yeah.
They have a dream room.
I know, yes.
Of like the walls are
Yeah.
plastered with, who we are and who we're
Yes,
not and
yes.
where we want to be in 10 years. And I mean, it was so inspiring just to sit in that room and
Right.
then I got to see like the clay carvings and I got to sit in one when it
yes,
was not even a real vehicle.
Yep.
I mean, my mind was blown the whole time. I was probably like sweating and just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And they were filming it. So that was the other thing. The whole thing was filmed.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but no information. I had no idea. There was still no actual reason as to why they had invited me there or we were doing this tour. So we get to about the end of the tour, and they take us into the basement.
Yep.
And the basement was where they were creating Bronco R, which was the prototype race truck that they were intending to race later that year at the Baja 1000. And so they just said, here it is. Shelby, we'd love to ask you if you're interested in racing the Baja 1000 with us. Just like that. And I was like...
Right?
And they were like,
did this just happen? Wait, what?
They said, you don't have to answer right now. I thought, what the? Yes, I do. I got to lock this in.
Where's the paperwork? I need to sign. Holy moly.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So they didn't want an answer then because I was like, yeah, I would love to do that.
They didn't?
Think on it and get back to us. And then I leave.
No thinking.
Like, that was it. Back on a plane. I was so baffled. And I, looking back, I mean, I was so naive and it was very overwhelming. It was, in a really great way, but it was a lot to take in. So of course I said yes. and then all the marketing things start happening. We go to SEMA. So I have that 68 Bronco that won the Baja 1000. And so they wanted that Bronco to be on display and part of the media reveal. And I was so scared driving that thing across the lake bed. Cameron Steele was driving the 19 race truck, and I had the old one. I had no idea how to speak in public. I mean, I was just like... The little girl, like the regular girl, man. I felt like Cinderella. I mean, it was like I really felt, I was like, I am out of my element, but I can figure this out. I mean, that was the thing I just kept telling myself was like, what would my grandpa say in this situation? And I can figure it out. Yeah. And man, so we went and raced in 2019 and we did not finish. And that was tough for Ford. It was kind of like their first back in racing down in Baja. And so when I got home from that, I mean, I felt like the whole thing was a win because I was like on this like star-studded team with Jason Scherer and Brad Lovell and Cameron Steele and Johnny Campbell. And I mean, there was like 8 drivers that year and they were all amazing people of the industry. Yeah. And then me. And so I just really soaked it all in.
You're like, yes, please. Just keep going along for the ride.
A lot of questions. I just tried to soak in as much information from these people as I could because, how often do you get that opportunity?
And let me ask you this. You saying all these like great names of these drivers, how did you feel? Like, obviously, yes, you probably felt like inferior to them, but how did they treat you? Like, was that
amazing? So in 2019,
and I think that's a really big, important part of it. That
it was
people don't get that most race car drivers want to help others like that.
Jason Scherer was the nicest one to me, he was. So we did a group pre-run, and so we ran the whole Baja 1000 race course together, not just the sections that we were going to race. And coming from a production background, I'm a little nicer to vehicles than probably those guys are. Because, they, like Jason Scherer has like an unlimited, rock crawler where he
does
smashes that thing.
Yeah.
And most of those guys have moved their way up to like trophy, unlimited trucks, basically. And not me. I've always been in a production world. And so when we got done with the pre-run, Jason at dinner in front of everyone said, we had this really tough obstacle to go through today. And Shelby, you did it the smoothest. Like, you understood that vehicle better than any of us did.
Wow.
And I was blown away. I thought that was such a nice compliment. And
awesome.
it gave me confidence to be on the team.
Good.
I was on the team either way, but
good.
That was definitely a little intimidating.
Sometimes the go fast and smash it is not always the way.
It's not.
And the smooth part will get you from A to B quicker sometimes because someone might break or something else might happen. Yeah. So a lot of times the smooth way is the best way. Yes.
And I think that, not to discount men, but women have a little bit of that finesse too.
Perfect word. It's different.
I do think we think more about, we have a more of like what if brain, and we think about what is going to happen next if we do that, if we make that decision right now, what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes in racing that works and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on what class you're in. Sometimes you have to just be all out all the time and you have to have a lot of luck.
But the other thing is the only way you win is if you finish.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
you got to cross that finish line. And keeping the car together is gold. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I mean, the attrition rate, I always say that on King of the Hammers, it's like,
huge.
40 to 60%. It's like insane. And people don't get that because they break like not even halfway through, So it's keeping your car together to get across it. So they might be smashing past you, but you might just be crawling past them too.
Yep, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So after the 1,000 that year, I went home, and in 2019, I went home and I thought, okay, I had my opinions on the program for that year, and I thought, this is not the best way to be launching the new Bronco. Like what I was always taught when you are competing for a manufacturer is it's our duty to make the vehicle look good. It's learning patience. It's learning the proper landscape to put it in and driving it for what the vehicle can handle, not for what the driver can do.
Yeah.
And so I went back to the drawing board and I thought, the Rebelle Rally is designed for production vehicles.
Yeah.
So we should put Bronco in its element. Instead of trying to modify it to make it fit somewhere else, why don't we show the world what it can do out of the box?
Yeah.
And so I presented the idea to go to the Rebelle Rally, which is an 8-day navigational rally for women only. And, I remember putting that proposal together, and my proposals have come a long ways since then. I cannot believe that
We're learning this.
Well, I've been doing them a long time. I mean,
I've
been doing them 20 years because of doing other project vehicles for Ford. So yes, along the way, I have 100%. Yes, you come into your understanding of what
a proposal should look like.
Yes.
So my mind was blown that it was even approved. But I worked with some really amazing people at Ford at the time, who had a lot of belief in me.
Yeah.
So I presented the idea.
They have a great team.
They do.
They really do.
So I present the idea. Let's take Bronco to Rebelle. And so they're like, what in the world is Rebelle? And, I give them a rundown. They're like, cool, let's do it. 6 weeks before the rally. So 6 weeks before the rally, let's get 3 cars and 3 teams together and let's go rally. And that was so rad. It was so much fun. That would have been for 2020, for Rebelle 2020. And I had not competed in Rebelle since 2016. So I had to.
Oh, but you had done it before.
I had done Rebelle once before the first year.
And what did you do it in?
In a Jeep.
Okay.
Cut that out.
The Broncos were out.
In a non-Bronco vehicle.
The Gen 6 wasn't out yet.
It wasn't. There was not even a.
Yeah.
No. And so the rally had changed a lot in those 4 years when I went back. And thankfully my navigator was able to bring me up to speed.
Was it the same one you have now?
No, her name was Penny Dale. And, it was during COVID. And so her and I didn't even get to meet each other until a couple days before the rally. Like we did a lot of conversing. Virtual conversing. But yeah, we didn't meet in person until just a couple days before the rally. And the way that the rules were laid out for the rally, we could not compete in the full-size Bronco. We could only compete in the Bronco Sport. Because the vehicle has to be available to consumers within like 150 days or something like that. This was 2020. Launch. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So Bronco was out there. It just wasn't available to consumers.
Yep. Okay.
So no big deal. We'll take Bronco Sport and we'll go compete in the X-Cross class. And it was good. That was a huge... I have always competed in a full-size 4x4 vehicle. So going into something smaller, less ground clearance, like 30-inch tires, I had some learning to do.
Okay.
I was like, wow, we're scraping everything. So, learning how to pick different lines. And so that was cool. It was a really fun experience. We went and won.
It's a very capable vehicle,
It
right?
really is.
Yeah.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
Yes. In my opinion, it just needs a little more ground clearance.
Sure.
Other than that thing is awesome.
Yeah.
It is awesome for what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
Cut you off because did you say
we won?
Awesome.
We went and won. So, which
Awesome.
is really incredible
So
because
cool.
that win that Penny and I captured was the very first win for the new Bronco for Gen 6.
Rad.
Brad Lovell had been racing. I mean, the guys had been out racing it, and nobody had won. And so I'm really proud of that.
Good.
And for it to be in a Bronco Sport is pretty rad too.
Totally.
And I've been back ever since. And so I signed my first multi-year contract with Ford this year.
Congrats.
But we've been back to Rebelle ever since. So 2021, 22, 23, and 24. Wow. And it's been a really awesome program for Ford. They are really fully invested now.
Good.
The whole program itself has transferred to Ford Performance, and so it's really being treated as it should be. This is a very grueling, challenging, time-consuming rally. It is so hard.
She's going through it.
I'm like, all positives. You don't just jump in a vehicle and decide you're going to do an 8-day rally. Like, it just doesn't work like that. It takes all year to get ready for that.
It's a lot of mental work, too. A lot. And I don't think people get that part of it. I mean, just like racing in general, I mean, and I'm sure you know that side of it. Yes, physically and like your drivability, all of that, but mentally, you have to be really like focused on what the task is at hand to get done.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other shit, or just being with someone for that long straight.
And I think too, you're not using a navigation system.
Oh yes,
correct. Map and compass.
Now let's think about this. You're communicating, at least your first time through, with somebody that you'd only communicated for 6-8 weeks.
Yes.
And then you're in a car with this individual and a map and a paper and the things and all the things, and it's a race.
And you camp every night. You have no contact with the outside world. Mm-hmm. Yes. So
okay, wait. Think about it.
Showers are available.
Yeah.
However, you are competing for 10, 12 hours a day. You get back to base camp and you have dinner and all you want to do is go to sleep because you get there and then you have to set up your tent. You have to set up camp. You have to blow up your mattress that of course has a hole in it and you end up sleeping on the ground and it's cold and like you get out of the shower and you're immediately dirty again. And I don't know. I do shower, but not every day.
Yes, exactly.
We'll leave it at that.
And we were talking about that, but it is. It's just a different kind of person where you're okay. You get this. You're like, this is what I'm doing.
This is what I'm doing.
Come on.
Yeah, my hair is not my priority.
Exactly.
I love that though.
Do I need to smell good? Yes, that's it.
Just don't smell bad.
Yes.
I love the idea, though, that it's not solely, I mean, the vehicle is everything, but what you're doing within the vehicle has all of those different elements that can make you a little nutty. It
The
can really
navigation
test
part.
you.
You know, and I find this in all racing and desert racing as well, that the person sitting in the co-dog seat does not get enough accolades. They do not get the respect that is deserved. The driver, I've never understood why the driver is always like the spotlighted person. Because, man, that person sitting in the co-dog seat has so many responsibilities. You know, they are coaching the driver.
Yeah.
In the Rebelle Rally, that navigator is telling me what to do.
Literally.
If she wasn't there, I would be like, I have no idea where to go. I don't know where to drive.
Yeah.
And in the Rebelle Rally, it is a lot on the navigator. We do, you know, of course, driving is an aspect of it, and the build of the vehicle is huge.
Yeah.
Because it has to stay together. It's approximately 1,200 miles long, and 95% of it is off-road. We start somewhere different every year, but it's mostly desert until the last day and a half, and then it's dunes. We're down in the Imperial Sand Dunes, which is really technical driving. And taking a full-size production vehicle through the sand dunes, that does take some skill. For sure.
It does.
I mean, I've learned how to drive
some nerve,
because of it.
though,
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Let's not discount that, because that's everything.
The dunes are a whole different animal. You know,
Yeah.
I thankfully I was able to pick it up relatively quickly, but I had very little formal training. And I remember the first year that I saw Glamis was 2016 in the Rebelle Rally. We crested this hill, and the next thing I see is endless sand dunes. And I was like, oh, hell no, I am not driving in that. And thankfully, my navigator that year, Amy Lerner, she tricked me. She was like, yeah, no big deal. We'll barely go in the dunes. Don't worry about it. And then she just guided me, right? Like, she just kept telling me, okay, just a little bit further this way. And so, I mean, she taught me that I had more skill than I thought I did.
Yeah.
So that was good. And I've worked really hard over the last few years. My goal has been to drive the dunes the way I drive the desert, which is with excitement and confidence.
I like that.
Yeah.
And not fear. And like, I don't want to be doing this, you know? And this year was awesome.
Yeah. And that's what people don't get. Cause you can literally be out in the middle of nowhere. And the second you get like that, the second you get nervous, you lose confidence, like what you're talking about. Like, you're like, oh shit, I might get stuck out here.
Yeah.
I might,
Well, that's immediately what I would think. Well, like, oh, you're getting your little car stuck out there.
When we were going up Hell's Revenge,
we got stuck.
So the tie rod broke, and then Jane was in the passenger seat on that. So she got to experience all of that, and she was like, "Great, I come along for the first time. This is what we do. Awesome.
I'm okay with that."
And it's like on her side.
Oh my God, what happened? I mean, that's total side note, but what'd you do?
The tie rod broke. So
how'd you get out of it?
But we installed a new tie rod.
But how did we get down?
Yeah, how did you get off? I'm like, you didn't install it while you're...
No.
They had they put a winch line down to us. Yeah, so we were 3/4 of the way up, and you know how you have to come up on the right hand side.
Yes.
You know, I have great tires. They probably aren't necessarily made for us. The sidewall is not as grippy,
Right.
so it just kept falling into the crack and stuff, and so the tie rod broke. I did not upgrade them at that time. So yes, they put a winch line
now.
Yes, they are. They brought a winch line down. We actually went backwards all the way down.
Oh my God.
So we ended up going all the way back down, and it was funny because even more than halfway down, the guy goes, he's like, I don't know. I mean, hopefully you don't roll it. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, you need to get up there because I'm driving.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it straight, you know, and stuff. And I can't really talk, you know, and I'm like,
We still needed to drive home.
yeah. So we went back to the bottom. My sister and her boyfriend, they went and got a tie rod at the local dealership, which apparently they had like 10 of them. And so they brought it back. We installed it. And then At the end, I was like, they were like, do you want to drive it out? I was like, no, I want you all to go home right now. I'm okay. So we had a Jeep just pull us and we went up with him. So yeah, it was like
Moab, man.
Nope, not do it. Yeah, no, totally. And I had
Gets
not
the
done
heart
that.
pumping.
And I have no lockers in it.
Yeah. I always forget about that about yours.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So there's all these little things that, you know, I should
Yeah.
have probably had all those things on it. But,
So
you
I
know.
think, though, the lesson for that is next year we're going really prepared and we're taking over Hell's Gate.
all of hell's stuff.
Yeah, we're taking all the hell. We're giving it hell.
So Jane
I
got
like
to
it.
experience those moments that
Yeah.
we're talking about
Yeah.
right now
Yeah.
of like,
Yes.
you can get in. I love that you, like she said too, like those two words like that. If you have to program yourself
Yep.
to want to be like that.
Yep.
Of course you can program yourself to be like, oh my gosh, I'm scared in this
Yep.
situation
Right.
and we're not going to get out.
Yep.
But if you're like that, you're like, no, we got this, you guys, come on.
Yep.
Yeah. We
100%.
made the most of it too. A little
it was a
Instagram
great
live,
day.
and it was so much fun.
But
Talking to
you
people,
know,
like, hey.
one of the other things though is the community really comes together.
Yes.
You know,
Oh,
and
my
it's like
gosh.
it's like Jason making that comment to you,
Yeah.
like the off-road family, like that community, they will stay with you there. They will make sure you're all taken care of. I mean, automotive community in general is
Yeah,
the same way. You see
definitely.
someone on the
In
side of the road,
motorsports.
motorcycles. You see someone
Yep.
on the side. I've stopped before. I've helped people push. I've been by myself and helped people push motorcycles off the side of the road.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
like you just do
Yeah.
those things because you get it. You've been there.
You've been there.
Yeah, yeah. So people are always there for you. So that's the best part. But
Yeah.
those two words are great. And I'm sure along the way, you've probably, that you've grown into those words.
Oh, 1,000,000%. And I
Yeah.
still have to remind myself, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's a lot of times that I still feel, underqualified
Sure.
or like.
We all do.
It is a lot of self-talk.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, thankfully in the dunes now, when I get there, I don't feel scared. I don't have to be like, okay, you're not nervous. You got this. Now I'm like, hell yeah. Like, let's see where we can take this
Awesome.
thing.
Awesome.
This year we did compete in Bronco Raptor, and that thing is amazing. Amazing. Oh my God. I have a two-door Bronco Wild Track, and that thing is so nimble in the dunes. It is phenomenal. It is, it's lightweight. It's turboed. It'll go anywhere you want it to go. So when I was moving up to Bronco Raptor, I was like, man, that thing's so much bigger. Like, it's going to be badass in the desert, but what's it going to be like in the dunes? And it a showstopper. I mean, you couldn't even tell that you were on 37s and 10 inches wider. I mean, that thing is...
It performs better with that footprint
It's
too.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't feel like especially with the shorter wheelbase like that, you kind of get like a little more nervous, like that
Oh, that
longer.
thing always wants to be on three wheels.
Yeah.
Or two.
Always.
Yes,
Always. You're always up. Yeah. And so with that
My two-door, yeah.
No, it's
Especially
it's,
rock crawling. That's probably why I'm terrified rock crawling all the time. Because I'm
You
like,
are-
I
every
don't have
time-
any tires on the ground. I have one tire.
It's always.
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 Yes.
Yeah.
That's something
The wheelbase is everything, totally.
You just always keep telling yourself, like, what's the worst thing that'll happen?
Totally.
I'm strapped
I mean, a lot, but
And,
yeah.
and have you
Strapped
gone
in.
through anything like that with your family along the years or anything, or no?
Knock on wood.
Okay. It's right there.
Nothing catastrophic. I've tipped a vehicle over. The first year I raced in Baja, we were racing Hummers at the time, and I tipped the H3 Hummer over. Totally the most rookie move on the planet. But you know what? You don't learn shit until you make a mistake. And
100%.
So
That's
how
the
you
first
learn.
thing my dad said was, well, what'd you do wrong? And I said, I don't know. I was tired. I had a list of excuses.
Yeah.
And I turned uphill on a downhill slope. I mean, you are asking to tip over.
Yeah.
Gravity's trying to pull you one way
Yeah.
and you're trying to steer the car up it. And now I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
Like I did it once after that, but okay, I had to learn it twice.
It's
Okay.
still racing, okay? If anyone knows, the heat of the moment is much different.
Oh, yeah.
It is so different.
This year, I raced the Nora Mexican 1000 with Drew Deckman, which was a really, really awesome experience.
Interesting. I didn't know. Explain who he is.
Yeah, so Drew Deckman is a Michelin star chef who has a beautiful restaurant in Guadalupe in Baja. And he's, over the last, 10 years maybe, really, really made his name within the motorsports industry as like the go-to chef. So at the Mint 400, the Legends dinner, he cooks that. He does all of the cooking for us at the Rebelle Rally.
He does King of the Hammers too.
Of course, he does all the VIP food at King of the Hammers.
That stuff. It's amazing.
He's amazing.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And he has been a racer for many, many years, but always as a navigator. And so this last year, he decided that he wanted to get in the driver's seat.
Love that.
So he built his Can-Am. And actually, Emily Miller is the one who threw my name in the hat to race with him.
Nice.
And so we would go back and forth. So one day he would drive during Nora, and I would navigate for him, and vice versa. And so he gave me my first rollover experience, actually. He was driving, and, I called it, and he didn't do it as I was calling. So I said it louder. Hairpin right, hairpin right, hairpin right.
Yeah, he's going too fast.
There was way too fast. But, you got to test the limits, I guess.
Yeah.
And we laughed, and it didn't hurt at all. I had never actually experienced a full roll before, and I knew we were going to. It was tight, and it was painless. And I'm very small, so it was really easy for me to get out and get the strap out. And thankfully, there was some locals waiting for people like us. Yeah. And
they were probably so excited.
They were so stoked.
Oh gosh, so funny.
They rolled us over, and along we went.
Totally.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's been the worst of my trials.
Yeah.
That's rad.
Yeah. And
thankfully.
So cool.
Yeah. Definitely not until I got into race. So Jesse was the first one. So when we had the rollover. So and that was the same type of thing too. So well, we've got to hear a lot of your story. So this is amazing.
I want to do this again though, because I think there's so much we've untapped.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Totally.
There's a lot. There's a lot of layers. It's been an awesome life. I feel really grateful to keep experiencing the things I'm experiencing, and part of, and I know we're trying to wrap it up, but part of what I do is that I have found is I get to inspire people. I get to share the things that I'm doing, because what I do is not normal, and it is not what a lot of women or men get to do. And I want to be able to share that and make a platform where people get to at least experience part of it, because it's pretty wild. And I have grown and learned so much about myself through the process.
Right.
And if I can share, just an nth of that, it's pretty life-changing. So,
how can people find you?
Well, I'm all over social media.
Okay.
And thankfully,
Drop some handles.
Pretty simple.
Yep,
Shelby
let
Hall,
them know right
Shelby Hall Offroad on YouTube. I just started a YouTube channel this year, and we actually dropped our first mini series, which is called Roots of Rebelle, and it's totally behind the scenes. 7 episodes of us rebelling, and it's pretty crazy because you can't have media. So we had to record all of our own photography, and our editor, gosh, bless his heart, really we captured it so well. It was very moving to actually go back and relive it after the fact.
You're going to be having events and stuff like that. So like you said, following Shelby Hall Offroad, you have all kinds of things planned for next year.
Yep. So Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
Yeah.
Shelby Hall Offroad.
Shelby, thank you so much for being here.
I'm going to come back every week. This is
love
so good.
I love it. Oh my gosh, you guys.
This is so good.
I'm Fastlane Jane.
And I'm Design Muse. And please follow and listen and like and subscribe and all the above to High Octane Hustle.
Thank you.